The streets of Paris were alive with their usual charm. Cobblestone paths lined with cozy cafes, the aroma of fresh baguettes wafting through the air, and the Seine River glistening under the afternoon sun. Among the crowd strolling through this enchanting city was Clara, a woman in her early 30s, her heels clicking softly against the pavement as she wandered through the Marais district. Clara was married to Daniel, a devoted and reliable man. They had built a comfortable life together, living in a modest but elegant apartment overlooking the Eiffel Tower. Their marriage was steady, filled with routine, breakfasts shared in silence, evening television shows, and Sunday dinners with friends. Yet, beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect union, Clara felt an ache she couldn't ignore. She missed the thrill, the passion, the spark that had once defined their relationship. It was during one of her solitary afternoon visits to a local art gallery that Clara met Julien. He was a French painter, his work bold and full of emotion. Standing before one of his vibrant canvases, Clara couldn't help but admire the raw energy in his strokes. Julien noticed her lingering and approached her with a warm smile. "You like it?" he asked, his accent thick but charming. Clara turned, startled by his presence. "Yes," she replied. "It's beautiful. There's so much life in it." "Art should make you feel something," Julien said. "If it doesn't stir your soul, what's the point?" Their conversation flowed effortlessly, moving from art to life and dreams. Julien was magnetic, his passion for his craft evident in every word. Clara found herself drawn to him, his energy a stark contrast to Daniel's quiet and measured demeanor. Before she left, Julien handed her a small card with his name and number scrawled across it. "Come by my studio sometime," he said. "I'd love to show you more." Clara hesitated but took the card. She told herself it was innocent, just an appreciation for art. But deep down, she knew there was more to her curiosity about Julien. Over the next few days, Clara couldn't stop thinking about him. She debated whether to visit his studio, torn between loyalty to her husband and the undeniable pull she felt toward this intriguing stranger. Finally, on a crisp autumn afternoon, she found herself standing outside Julien's studio in Montmartre. The scent of turpentine and paint filled the air as she stepped inside. Julien greeted her with a smile, his hands stained with color. "You came," he said, his voice warm. "I was curious," Clara replied, her heart racing. He showed her his work, each painting more captivating than the last. As they talked, Julien's charm and intensity drew Clara in further. He spoke of love, freedom, and the beauty of taking risks. Clara felt herself letting go of her reservations, swept up in the allure of the moment. That day marked the beginning of their affair. It started with long conversations in Julien's studio, their connection deepening with each meeting. Soon, it evolved into stolen kisses and passionate encounters, their relationship a whirlwind of excitement and secrecy. Clara felt alive in a way she hadn't in years, her time with Julien filled with laughter, desire, and the thrill of the forbidden. But the affair was not without its cost. Clara's guilt weighed heavily on her. Each time she returned home to Daniel, she felt the sting of betrayal. Daniel remained oblivious, his trust in Clara unwavering. He often asked about her days, genuinely interested in her gallery visits and artistic pursuits. "You've been glowing lately," he said one evening, his tone affectionate. "I'm glad you found something that makes you so happy." Clara forced a smile, the weight of her deception threatening to crush her. "Thank you, Daniel," she murmured, avoiding his gaze. As the weeks turned into months, the affair grew harder to sustain. Julien began to demand more of Clara's time, his frustration with their secrecy evident. "I can't keep hiding in the shadows," he said one evening, his voice tinged with anger. "I love you, Clara. I want to be with you completely." Clara's heart ached. She loved Julien, but the thought of leaving Daniel terrified her. Their life together, though lacking passion, was stable and familiar. She couldn't imagine tearing it apart. One evening, as Clara prepared dinner, Daniel approached her, a worried expression on his face. Clara, is everything all right? He asked. You've seemed distant lately. Her hands trembled as she chopped vegetables. I'm fine, she replied, her voice unconvincing. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. You can talk to me, he said gently. Whatever it is, we can face it together. Clara felt tears welling up but quickly blinked them away. I'm just tired, she said, forcing a smile. Work has been demanding. Daniel nodded, accepting her explanation, but the doubt lingered in his eyes. The pressure of her double life became unbearable. Clara knew she had to make a choice. One afternoon, she met Julian at his studio, the tension between them palpable. Julian, she began, her voice trembling. I can't keep doing this. I need to decide what I want, and I can't do it while living two lives. Julian's expression softened, his frustration replaced by understanding. I don't want to lose you, Clara, but I also don't want you to feel trapped. Take the time you need to figure things out. Clara spent the following weeks reflecting on her life, her marriage, and her feelings for Julian. She revisited the places that had once brought her joy, from the gardens of Luxembourg to the quiet banks of the Seine. Slowly, she began to understand what she truly wanted. One evening, Clara sat down with Daniel. There's something I need to tell you, she said, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her heart. Daniel looked at her, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. What is it? Clara took a deep breath. I've been unfaithful. I'm so sorry, Daniel. I never wanted to hurt you, but I've been lost for a long time. Daniel's face fell, his eyes filling with pain. Why, Clara? Was I not enough? It wasn't about you, she said, tears streaming down her face. I've been struggling with myself, and I didn't know how to tell you. The days that followed were filled with difficult conversations and painful realizations. Clara and Daniel decided to separate, their parting bittersweet but amicable. Clara moved into a small apartment near the Latin Quarter, her life transformed but uncertain. She continued her relationship with Julian, but it wasn't the same. The intensity of their affair faded under the weight of reality, and they eventually drifted apart. Clara focused on rebuilding her life, rediscovering her passions and her sense of self. Years later, as Clara strolled along the Seine, she thought about the choices she had made and the lessons she had learned. Paris remained as beautiful and chaotic as ever, its streets filled with stories like hers, messy, complicated, but undeniably human.